Good morning, everybody.
Yes.
How's it
Morning.
going?
Good morning.
Morning.
Morning, Professor. How's it going? Good to see you.
Fantastic. Thanks for the raise because I'm not a professor, but
Okay. I
I
thought we
appreciate
talked
the
about
extra
that.
money that you just sent me.
We got to get that. Good seeing everybody today. Thank you for having me.
So Kevin, so guys, this is Kevin, who you now know because you've listened to one or more of their podcasts, and I'm super grateful to Kevin. I think you guys know I met Kevin 2 years ago at Podfest, which is just it's a absolutely remarkable um, conference to go to if you're serious about a podcast. And I'm pretty sure that Kevin and his guys were the only sports people there. I could be wrong, but if they weren't, there were darn few. The bulk of people there are entrepreneurs. And I'm curious if you have found this to be true, Kevin. The one thing I've noticed that I tell my students a lot is there is no agreement on a single way to monetize or complete agreement. There are all these ideas, and some people will tell you this one works, but it won't work for they won't work, or this one won't work, or whatever. And I just find pretty much every single idea works for somebody. Um, I some things might not work for other people, but it's pretty amazing.
I
So
was, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Jeff. I would say this, one size doesn't fit all. You have to find your niche. There's a multiple ways that you can monetize. So podcasting to me, this is how I've done. I've been doing it for 6 years now. So there's a couple ways that you can do it and earn some money. And, I'm just going to be
oh, you froze up
like
on us.
day gig. So,
You-
oh, can you hear me? Sorry.
Can you repeat that sentence? You froze for a sec.
Oh, I was just saying that you're not gonna be. I'm not full transparent. I was just saying you're not gonna be a millionaire doing this in the beginning, especially if you're not famous or you're not an influencer or whatever case may be. It's a slow grind. It's to build something. So if you're in it to just make some quick money, it's probably not for you. You got to be in it to really do it. And so going back to the monetization piece, so there's two ways you can do it openly. So of course you got the podcasting side where your podcast could be syndicated on Apple, Spotify, all the major platforms, and then you got the YouTube side where you can monetize a couple ways. How your videos show up in ads, and sometimes that takes a little while too because of the YouTube algorithm and competition. So I'm in the sports niche, as y'all probably would know. If you don't know, that's a lot of competition, man. So you have to fight through anything to be successful, to do that. And success, I would say this. So I don't know if you guys have heard about pod fading. So pod fading basically happens to 70% of podcasters, right? Basically, pod fading is when you post 7 videos, 7 episodes, and you just die out and you just quit because people are expecting this miracle, this thing like, yo, I'm gonna be rich doing this. No, like I said, it's gonna be a slow grind, and you gotta put some emphasis into it and some work into it because it's gonna take work because you don't know you're not famous like some other influencers or famous people. So you have to find your niche, and there's some things that you can do to make yourself discoverable.
Can you give us the background of how you got together with your guys? Because you're all hardcore New York fans.
So basically, yeah. So me, my brother, my childhood friend D, and my cousin, and my cousin's son. We talk on the phone every day, talk about sports. I'm an avid sports fan. I love the Yankees, the Knicks, the Rangers, and the Giants. So, we would talk on the phone every day, and we just be arguing, going back and forth. And I want to say right around 2018, my man D's wife, she heard us on the phone, and she said, "You guys argue so much. You guys should do a show." And she didn't say it like that, so I'm trying to be PG, you know, for school purposes here. She didn't say it like that. Shout out to Rhonda when she sees this. She said, "You guys should start a show." And I said, Rhonda, that's a great idea. And sure enough, I did my little research, got my little mic, got my MacBook, and just started a podcast about sports and called it the Sports Chasers. One of my cousins, he gave me the name for it, kind of brainstormed the name for it, and that's where we're at now. So 6 years later, man. And I'll say this too: COVID gave us some direction too. So when we was doing it at first, we was only doing it via an application, and it was audio. There was no video, none of this, like how you see today. So during COVID, what was everybody doing? They're doing this, right? They're doing Zoom, and that allowed for a lot of dynamics for where we can feed off one another, we can feed off each other's energy, and have some really good banter and some really good how can I say authentic banter between all of us. So COVID really opened up a lot of opportunities, and like I said, with Zoom where we can see one another, it definitely opened it up for us to even grow more.
What are you looking at for current numbers, Kevin?
As far as downloads,
Yeah.
so downloads, it's funny you said that. I just sent the team Q1. I'll pull it up for you here. I ain't got no problem doing it for our Q1 stats here. Where I got it at? All right. So from the first quarter here of the year, our YouTube performance, we got 122, really 123,000 views. We got over 1,000 hours of watch time. We've gained 138 subscribers. We made $30.07. Now YouTube Shorts, total views is 120,848. Watch time was 724 hours. The top short was the NBA dunk contest. Top players should participate. That was our top. And some of the regular videos that performed well was a hockey one, the Rangers trade rumors. Why was Mike Brown fired? My man Dan, he did an NHL analyst, and then Ovechkin chasing Gretzky that did over 2,000 views. So on the podcasting side, we had during this time from January 1st to March 31st, we had 3,588 Spotify, Apple, all the major platforms when it comes to podcasting. And it just basically gave us a rundown. Uh, all-time downloads, 55,000. Last 30 days, 1,200. And last 7 days, 516. And then global rankings. Yes, we found global rankings.
Nice.
And in the US, I'm proud to say we're 245. So we're making some strides. In Italy, we're 83. Thailand, we're number 47. Denmark, we're number one, we're 130. Algeria is number 23. And I'm always proud to say this, and I shout them out. In Pakistan, we're number one.
And is that just in a specific genre? Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, well, so yeah, in the sports niche. So all those that I read was for the sports niche. So I'm proud to say we made the board for in the US for 245 because like I said, the sports niche is so crowded. There's so many people doing sports. So just
That's
like how they would do, I would say sometimes just even like doing politics and other genres where it's, saturated.
that's an amazing number as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. I'm proud. I'm proud of that.
I would be. Yeah. So now that you guys look at those numbers and you see what shows are doing, does that ever change your mind in terms of content, or you just don't worry about it and you guys just stick to what you find interesting?
So we gather with the team. We just keep on doing what we're doing. I don't want to clickbait nobody. I think that's whack when because people, you're in the journalism field. That's not really true to who you are. So if you're really going to talk about what you're going to talk about, put the thumbnail on there. Be honest about it. So I think we just stay true to what we are, and I enjoy it because I think people find you authentic when you do that.
Any advice to the not everybody here, but the bulk of this group is interested in a sports podcast that they may or may not get around to. But if they were to do that, what would be your advice for creating a sports podcast?
I would do one or two things, and I didn't know in the beginning. When I did this, I kind of was riding out on my own, meaning with the team, and so I didn't really know a lot. And I would say back in 2022, the company that syndicates all of our podcasts on the podcasting side, they've actually mentored me and shown me the business. And then I got another guy. His name is Adam. He was at Podfest. Adam Shibley, great dude. He also kind of pulled me under and absolutely showed me the business. Said, hey man, you can draw some more followers too, because we had a website also by creating newsletters. He said, hey man, there's six of y'all, man. Y'all can write a little newsletter and show your true opinion on things. So we come out with a weekly newsletter. And yeah, so I would say get a mentor, get somebody that knows the business. Don't be in this alone. Seek somebody out that has some knowledge about the business. And you just got to be prepared to work. That's all. And that's what I would say. Get a mentor, know your information, do research, and just be prepared and be consistent. Be consistent. I think a lot of people. I have not missed a week in an episode since 2000. Think about that.
That's pretty cool.
Now, so what I do sometimes, I pre-record a bunch of shows. We're gonna interview Mr. Hope here in a little bit. But I pre-record a bunch of shows. So we got a platform. We got a sequence where we basically will do our live show on Monday. We'll do our live show on Thursday, and in between that, sometimes we'll interview people. So we interview people is on our playlist where they're intertwined with sports. Actually, maybe coaches, players, things of that nature. Lately, I've been talking to doctors. About brain injuries and things that kind of correlate with sports. So that's what I would do if I was in you guys' shoes. Just I wish I had that. Maybe I'll be a little bit further along the way. But anybody that's interested, that's what I tell them. Get a mentor, get somebody that knows the podcasting business, and you'll be successful, man. And don't compare yourself to any other podcast. I can't compare myself to Stephen A. Smith. He's famous. You know what I'm saying? He's on TV every day. And I'll say this, just to let y'all know, if you notice, a lot of you guys that watch sports, a lot of the guys that's in the legacy media sports business, guess what they're doing? They're going on the podcasting side, even though they talked about it here a couple years ago. But every last one of them now has a podcast. And there's a reason for that. Because they can't really say what they want on ESPN because they work with the company.
I
So
never thought of it that way.
yeah, yeah. So which I think is kind of whack in a way. If you really truly say what you want to say on ESPN, why can't you say it on ESPN, right? So you got to wait till you get your podcast. And I mean, I get it. You can't just wild out and just be like, just say any and everything. There's got to be some decorum, right? But if you have your own platform, people like Shannon Sharp, Stephen A. Smith, there's some other ones. All the players got, I shouldn't say all the players. Some of the players in football and in the NBA, in NFL and NBA, they got podcasts, which they do. And a lot of that time, that's simply because they want to get out their story, their narrative. Because I think, in my opinion, I know I'm going down a rabbit hole. I think sports media has taken a turn for the worse. If you watch the war between LeBron and Stephen A. Smith, that's just insanely crazy, in my opinion. How those two guys are warring against one another, and the players, they don't. In my opinion, today's players, they can't take criticism, even though you're just criticizing about what's on the court, ice, field, baseball diamond. And two, I think some of the sports media guys, some of them, I won't call them out, but they also have become personal with these guys instead of just reporting on what's happening, the news, being journalistically responsible. I'm even thinking about I'm really thinking about going back to school to go get a journalism degree just because I think you should be well versed in this space because to me, you're a journalist when you're doing this. You're part of the media. You're part of the media. Whatever genre it is, whether you're selling essential oils, whatever it is. No lie. There's a lady that works that's with me on my on the company that syndicates our show. She sells essential oils and she has a podcast in essential oils and she's doing like almost 1 million downloads
Yeah.
like half the year, which is amazing.
Yeah. That's why I love going to Podfest. You hear these crazy stories of success that are so inspiring.
Yes, it definitely is.
All right, guys, it's up to you. Kevin is here. It's your time to turn on your mic and ask whatever you want.
Can I go first? Is that all right?
Absolutely.
Right.
Who's that?
Uh,
Jack? Go ahead.
yeah. So first of all, thank you so much, Kevin. That's really cool of you to join us and let us ask you questions and give us some information and stuff. But so I know you talked about how you work during like the day, you have a day job and stuff. So how hard is it to balance your schedule? Like you also said, you haven't missed a week in 6 years. How hard is it to balance your everyday schedule with your podcasting schedule? Does it get in the way of your everyday life?
Um, sometimes work calls, not all the time. But my brother will back me up or somebody else. So, I got partners that, I got a team. So
Hmm.
if I'm not there, somebody else is able to carry on the show, But more times, 98% of the time, I'm there. And Jack, to answer your question, to balance, I just make sure I just allot some time. I know what I got to do for work. I know what I got to do for the podcast. And yeah, it's hard. I'll say this: if I didn't have a day job, I absolutely think that we'd be further along than what we are. But the day job, comes first,
Right.
and uh, um, I'm thankful for the day job because it allows me to supplement for doing what I do. You know, to podcast, and I enjoy it, man. So just a balance, just a healthy balance of life, man, and just be able to make sure you know where your priorities is at, and also be strategic. And like I said, I sometimes I pre-record a bunch of stuff.
Hmm.
Like come time the summer, sometimes the summer is slow.
Hmm.
So, or you just don't want to get burned out too. That's another thing too. People get, they start out fast, they want to do everything, and they get burnt out. So you got to pace yourself. You got to pace yourself, and just be consistent. Whatever that consistency is, whether you do it once a month, once every week, whatever it is. So,
Absolutely. That makes sense for sure.
yeah, appreciate your question, Jack. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I can go next if that's all right. Um, Kevin, I just want to say what Jack said. Thank you for being here um,
Thank you.
and answering our questions. My question for you. So I noticed, like, I went down and was looking for podcasts to listen to because we had a project where we had to listen to like one of your podcasts. Um, I'm personally a big F1 fan, like car racing, and it's starting to become more popular in America. And they
Did you
now have
see
like
the,
three
did you
teams
see the
there.
Netflix? Did you see the Netflix series?
Yeah, I've
That's
watched it. Yeah,
that's pretty cool, right? Yeah.
yeah. And so my question was if you guys were ever thinking about covering like any of that.
So this is what we do, Kobe. That's a great question that you have for it. I think what makes us stand out and what's going to make us win in the long haul. I try to cover everything. I really do. I lived in Charlotte, North Carolina for a while. I made some connections up there. So if anything NASCAR worthy is to report, I got somebody to reach out for them.
Mm.
Formula One. I actually live in South Florida now, so you know that the
Yeah.
event is coming up here in Miami. I actually pass it on my way to work every day. That's coming up, the Formula One racing down here in South Florida. So I'll reach out to them. Like I said, and I'm really truthful with it. If you can go through all of our content, we absolutely really try to cover all sports. Um, so I don't know Formula One. So what I would do is reach out to somebody who I know knows Formula One, and they'll just come on for a few minutes and give the spill of what happened that day, and you can call those people contributors or guests. I got somebody that talks golf for me. I got a guy who's permanent on the show. He talks hockey. That's his thing, hockey. I got another guy on the show. He talks strictly NBA. My brother and my man D, they talk. They're boxing guys, so anything boxing worthy, they'll talk about boxing. And so you'll probably say, what's my specialty? I got to do it all. I'm joking. I don't have to do it all, but I guess my specialty would be Major League Baseball and football.
Mhm.
But I had to kind of know a little bit about everything. But that's what I usually do. I just reach out to somebody who knows sports, who knows that particular sports, and I'll try to get some coverage for that. And it's funny you said that, Kobe. I was absolutely trying to find somebody to help me cover Formula One. So that's the strategy that we do here. So if you're a big Formula One person, huh?
Yeah, I went down the rabbit hole a couple years ago, and I've been in it since.
Well, Kobe, you might be my guy to come on and talk about Formula One. I mean, for real, I'm not joking. I'll have to get Mr. Hope to give you my information, man, and we'll talk about the next race, man, because it's something. It's a sport, and I watched that Netflix series, and it was incredible. Because somebody
Yeah,
else told me to
good
watch it.
job.
Yeah. So thank you for your question, Kobe. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
I
Sports
like.
geeks. Go, Ben.
I actually watched Formula One too, and Patrick Dempsey I know is actually on the circuit, and he's actually somebody I follow pretty closely. But my question for you, as someone who's a sports enthusiast, as you are,
Mhm.
um, you probably heard and probably seen some weird sports, but this newest one that I've seen, which I was wondering if you would ever like consider thinking about it or watching it or talking about it, is this new sport in Germany, which they infuse basketball and wrestling, and they call it rugball, where people would put up a 3-pointer, then go up and suplex somebody.
Benjamin, thank you for your question, sir. I actually saw that on TikTok somewhere, and I was dying laughing. One of my coworkers one day at work he said, "Hey man, you should cover this on the Sports Chasers," and he showed me this video. It was somewhere in South America where basically you would throw a balloon up around the car and you try to go around the car and make sure the balloon doesn't touch the floor. I said, Richard, I said his name is Richard. I said, Richard, I don't know. Maybe you can, because he's Cuban. I said, maybe you can get somebody and yeah, I'll cover it just because you want me to, man. Um, I would say if it's newsworthy, that's how we do. If it's newsworthy, I would. If it's catches somebody's eye, I probably maybe would. But if it's not really newsworthy,
Hmm.
I had a gentleman one time. He reached out to me. He wanted to talk about fly fishing. And I was like, man, I, I, I ain't got nothing for you for fly fishing. My audience doesn't really, do it. But what I was able to do, because being that this podcasting community is a big community, I was able to point him in the right direction to somebody who does have like an outdoor wildlife um podcast, and he was very thankful for it. And he's a regular on the guy's show. So
Any sports guys you want to go?
I love the podcast because there's so many people that you meet in this genre, like how Mr. Hope was saying about meeting these creators and stuff like that. It's just very, very inspiring, man. And you meet a lot of people and then you're able to make a lot of connections, man. Whether it's your genre or not.
Well, I thank you for answering my question, and thank you for being here with us.
You got it, Benjamin. Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
I suppose I've got a quick question right now as well.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So you've mentioned a lot about how you bring different people on when you start covering new sports and that sort of thing. How do whenever you start covering something new on your podcast, excuse me, whenever you start covering something new on your podcast, how do those episodes usually fare? Like, do you notice you get a big, like, increase in viewership, or those episodes usually perform more poorly than some of your other ones, or what?
I think so. I remember the NASCAR one I covered. That one kind of peaked a little bit. He hasn't been on in a while, man, but I remember covering it and having him on. I forgot what was the actual thing because it was a couple years ago. That actually peaked. And things with golf and things of that nature It just depends on the news of the day. So if we're covering, if my guy that covers golf comes on and talks about Tiger Woods, it absolutely will go up because Tiger Woods moves the needle when it comes to golf, right? So it just depends. It just depends. So the algorithm is very funky and funny in YouTube and on the podcast side. So you just got to be strategic and just make sure you put the best content you out. But it just depends. It just depends, to be honest.
Great, thank you. I appreciate it.
Got it, Aston. Thank you.
All right, I have a question if no one else is gonna go. So I know you talked about like how you don't make a ton of money. This can't be your only job. But obviously you have a passion for it. You said you've been doing it for 6 years. So what would you say are some of the most like redeeming qualities that make you want to keep doing it, other than you just want to have a podcast?
All right. So I tell you, for me, I'm gonna honestly say this is like therapy, doing therapy for me. You know what I'm saying? My day gig, and I'll share with you. I'm a police detective by day. So you want me to come back and talk about police stuff? I will. No, I'm joking. So and I've been doing it for a long time. So I need to get away and de-stress. Excuse me. Um, Hold on one second. That's mom calling. Mom, I'll call you back. Um, so I find that that's a good way for me because of what I do, and I love it. And they say if you do something free that you love, it doesn't feel like work. So this doesn't feel like work to me. You understand what I'm saying? So I just love to do it, and it's a way to get away from what I do. And my man D always says to me, he says, "Yo, you should let a lot of people know." And he'll be proud of me. He said, "To know what you do," he said, "because it actually humanizes you, and with on how people might feel about cops and whatever the case may be." And so I've been doing that a little bit more. That took a lot for me to share that with you because usually I say I work with the government, which I do, but
I wasn't gonna tell him. I was leaving that up to you.
he says all the time, he said, man, it humanizes you and people see you in light. So I've been doing that a little bit more. But so to answer your question, it's just a way for me to get away from what I do for a living. And I love it, man, because that's why it shouldn't be sports sometimes can be how can I say this? Well, when ESPN was doing some of their coverage the last couple of years, they was infusing political stuff in it, which I hated. I hate it. I don't think politics belongs in sports. Whatever side of the aisle you on, it's sports. It's supposed to be those 3 or 4 hours that you watch it on TV or go to an event where nobody knows who you are as far as what's your political affiliation or anything like that. You're just supposed to go there and enjoy it, whether you win, lose, or draw. I think I have some quote like that on my bio, and so that's the escape. I don't want to be inundated with other, with political nonsense when we're watching sports. I don't care who Michael Jordan, who he likes as far as political. I just want to know, can he score? That's just my thing. So when ESPN was doing that, that really turned me off. And one of the other reasons why I started doing what I'm doing. So you just want to get away. I just want to get away in this and escape, so to speak. That's why I love what I do, and it's not work to me. It feels great to do it. I'm always up thinking about it. Well, how I can make it better? How we can get more visibility? Always, like I said, I'm extremely serious about. I might have to talk to Mr. Hope, man, about going back and getting my journalism degree. Because because people say, well, you're not a journalist. I said, well, now I got the paper to show that I am. So I'm really thinking about it. So I'll have to see. Um, but um, but that's the answer to your question. My passion, just to get away from it.
I,
So
you,
Sweet.
you
Thank you very
probably,
much.
you
welcome.
probably never would have thought of this, Kevin, but it occurs to me one of your pieces of advice might be for sports people: stick to sports, nothing else.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, stick to sports. I actually had somebody that wanted that reached out to us that wanted to be interviewed, and they wanted to talk about politics and sports. I said, well, sir, I won't out them. I says, you obviously you didn't read what's in our thing. I said, if you want to have somebody do that, this is the wrong podcast for you. So I'm not interested. I'm really not.
So
So
we, if I haven't covered it in the class, we do. I think we do cover that at one point, and that's a perfect example of that person is trying to promote themselves and they didn't do their homework. What a waste of time! You know, if you're going to try to get on Kevin's podcast, you've got to do your homework and be appealing and understand what Kevin's doing to sell yourself to Kevin. And that guy failed. I find
so
it
what?
confusing.
Yeah, so yeah, absolutely, he failed, and so that's why I vet people. I don't do like, I don't just say a person said, "Hey, I want to come on," and they just come on the show. No, 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 no. I guess that's the police officer in me, right? I vet you. I make
Hey,
sure that you're a good fit for the show. So what I usually do is, on our website we got a calendly. I can never say that word, but we got a thing where you can book a 15 minute call with me.
oh, nice.
um, yeah, I did it yesterday on my lunch break, and vetted the guy, made sure he was good. I met him on Podmatch. Podmatch is another thing. If you guys are gonna get into it, that's another wonderful tool that you can use to have people, you know, either you go on their podcast or they come on your podcast. And this guy, that's where I met him at on Podmatch. Shout out to my main man Alex Sanfilippo because that's his product, Podmatch. So
Yep.
and so I vet people. I just don't do cold. You just come on the show. No, absolutely not. I got to know you first. Let's get to know one another first. So,
I'm thinking we'll go 7 more minutes to 9:40. Jake,
sure.
Mr. Sports Dude, can't believe you don't have a question.
No, I do. I just want to because mine's just like a simple question, so I don't want to like take time out of other people having legit
I'm gonna get it.
questions.
Hold on, I'm gonna give a shout out to Jake first, Kevin. This guy is so we're D3, and
Mhm.
Jake has been doing SID sports information with another school and now here for some time in athletics, and
So,
he is now killing it in D1 up north in Orono at UMaine. And I am so freaking proud of him. He is really doing a great job up there, making a name for himself in that little community at a D1 school. So he's in deep water up there writing recaps. Are you doing any broadcasting, sir?
Not not up there right now.
Okay.
Um I do have a broadcast Saturday here with Philip for
What are you
NESCom.
doing with your disgusting headroom, dude? We go over this
I,
stuff.
I,
Now fix your headroom and give me your question.
okay. Um so
I'm gonna let the
mine's
horrible
just
lighting go, but the headroom is atrocious.
that's Owen's fault. Um so my question, you've been doing this for some time now.
mhm.
Uh, who is your dream guest for your podcast?
Jake, that is a dope question, bro. 'Cause I usually ask people when they come on my show that if they have a podcast. My dream guest, and I can only give you one. I gotta say, man, I gotta have Michael Jordan, man. If I could get Mike on the show, that would be awesome. That would be my dream guest. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I've had some NBA guys on, I've had some NFL guys on, I've had some NHL guys on. And those guys were great and amazing. But now my dream, if I can, and sometimes I'll reach out to people who I'll just write them an email. You never know. You absolutely never know. And I tell the guys to reach out to people. I said, hey, there's somebody you need to know that you want to. I said, yo, reach out to them. I said, you never know. I said, that's why we all got professional emails. I've set it up where it's an email from the sports chasers, not from some random email that says, I'm you know how some people write emails and it'd be crazy. So I got everybody a professional email, and I just tell people, I said, reach out to the people who, you know, um, that you might want. I said, you never know. You never know.
Yeah,
So,
Kevin and I hear that a lot at Podfest of these just amazing interviews that happen because the person doing the podcast put together a very compelling request to a celebrity or whatever. So it's very, very true. We probably got time for two more questions. Who's up?
I got a question. Go ahead. So my question is, how do you guys like plan out each episode for your podcast? Like, what is the pre-production involved? How do you guys plan it? Do you guys like reach out to guests? How far in advance? Like, what is that process like?
So there's a couple process, and thank you again, Owen, for your question. Appreciate you, sir. So when we do our 2 live shows during the week, what I'll do is write a rundown, as we call it. I'll email it to all the guys. Like I just before I came on here, I emailed all the guys the rundown for tonight. So if you're not busy tonight, y'all make sure y'all chime in. And so they'll get it. I said if anybody else has anything else that they might want to talk about or think that's newsworthy, I said reply back. And then once probably about 5 o'clock tonight, this evening, if there's nothing else added, I'll just write out the rundown, and that's what we'll talk about. And then so mostly like tonight we have I'll start off with the news, and then the news that just happened this past week, and then we'll go to segments such as MLB, the National Hockey League. The Final Four is going on for both the women's and men's basketball for the NCAA, and then we'll end for the NBA. So that's how we kind of do it. As far as like interviews, like I said, there's a process with that as we the person will reach out to me via the Calendly app. We'll vet them, and then we'll get a time for them to interview. Now the interviews are not recorded live. You know, the Thursday and Monday night shows are recorded live. The interview shows are just recorded, and then we put them out there. We strategically put them out there because YouTube says there's certain times that when you put stuff out, it'll absolutely boost your visibility.
Based on the time of day?
Yes, quite
Wow.
certainly. Yeah, it just depends, especially it depends on the subject you're talking about. Yeah, they'll say, hey, if you're going to talk about this, if you put it in your description, like, hey, based on this, you should post this video at 3 p.m. during the day.
Wow, that's cool.
And that's using some tools that I got. So if you're going to get into it, I use vidIQ, and I used Tubi. So those things help me out as far as, figuring out algorithms and best practices and things of that nature. And the applications are primarily cheap. I think I paid $7.99 for Tubi and $11 for vidIQ.
Yeah.
So,
And these are just good reminders that if you're going to be serious about podcasting, unfortunately, it's not all about content creation. You've really got to embrace the fact that you've got to be doing a look at analytics like Kevin does. It's huge. So I'm thinking one more question. Anybody dying to ask?
I have a question.
Go, Marion.
Thank you, Kevin, for being here. My question is, if you could do it all over again, what would you do differently?
Podcasting. I would give my advice how I just gave you guys. I would absolutely make sure I get a mentor, not be out here swimming in the ocean by myself. And yeah, I would get some mentors. I think we'd be far ahead because I was just doing this, doing that, trying that. But when there's strength in numbers, right? So it helps to have somebody that's guiding you and teaching you. I think that's for me. So I'm able. Somebody actually told me, a couple of people have told me, they say, hey, I need to like have some kind of podcasting. I don't know what to call it, Jeff, but to teach people how to do it. So, because they said, I give advice all the time. And they say, hey, man, you're giving away all that advice for free. I said, man, I don't care, man. I'm not trying to gatekeep this stuff. That's just that, man. But you really should. So, I don't know. I'm probably considerate. Who knows? But Marion, that's the best advice. If to myself, if I had to do it all over again, from day one, I would have sought somebody out in this business on what am I doing? Because I think for the first 4 years, we didn't know what we was doing. I didn't know what I was doing on YouTube. None of that stuff. All that stuff matters. The thumbnails, all that stuff matters. When you look at a thumbnail, you just think about it. When you look at a thumbnail, if it's not pleasing to the eyes, you're going to
Yeah.
skip to the next one.
So
Um,
true.
yeah, so I learned all of that stuff, and I didn't know it. And when you don't know what you know, and then when you find out what you know, it's like, man, I wish I knew that. So, Marion, that's a great question. And yeah, to myself, I would get some mentors to tell me how to rock in this game. So
So, Kevin, it's just occurred to me. I'm going to send you two links because the seniors this semester have come up with a couple of ESPN type shows that we've modified our newscasts and made them more sports
okay,
friendly. So I'll show you where I'll send you the links to the couple of new shows that we're doing this semester, and I will also just give my own people a shout out if you ever want to do a show with just sports journalism people. We have some hardcore fans up here, especially New England. Jacob is a Seahawks guy, but we have our people tend to lean more towards Boston than anything else. But if you ever want to hear from a whole group of young people, we will set it up. I think it'd be kind of a fun
I
podcast.
think Jeff, we absolutely need to set that up. Let's do
Cool.
that, sir. Do that.
I got a bunch of people that would be really good at it. So,
You guys have been really great this morning. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate all the questions and all the love that you guys showed me and your interest, man. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, and I'll do the best I can to get any question answered.
I'm super grateful as always. As I told you, I was wandering around Podfest 2 years ago, going, "There's got to be somebody," and I stalked you.
You certainly did. And now we can't be separated, sir.
Also, Kevin, I wanted to thank you for like you said that you're law enforcement. I wanted to thank you for your service in that field because I know a lot of people don't get a lot of respect and to that. I wanted to thank you for that.
Benjamin, I saw your comment and thing. I was trying to respond, but thank you, sir. I really do appreciate that, man. Thank you. 2022. I just did 23 years, man. I'm gonna do a couple more and then I'm done.
Oh,
Stay safe.
Thank you.
all right. Thank you so much, Kevin. We are so
Thank you.
appreciative.
You
Thank
guys,
Thanks for coming.
thank you, guys. I appreciate each and every one. Thank you so much, man. Y'all keep up the great work.
Oh, this day's starting off good. Thank you again.